think we're going to have to update that intro eventually and have Purdy on there. What do you think, Ted?
I think so. It's about time. He's legit. No more
Definitely.
doubts.
Welcome to Wednesday, which means it's First and Ted. Me and Ted on Wednesday talking Niners, NFC Championship game edition. We were on his channel last week after I couldn't make it the prior week. So we're back on, I guess, on our regular schedule, but I haven't talked to Ted since last week. I mean, we go back and forth on Twitter and stuff, but we have the Niners in the NFC Championship game for the third time in 4 years. Before we get into the Eagles, I wanted to touch on some NFC divisional topics. So one thing that came up today, and I'll get your opinion on it, is Nick Bosa, Defensive Player of the Year. He was named. What's your thoughts on that? And I would assume, like me, you're like, well, he totally deserves it, so it's not a big surprise.
Yeah, the only way I figured he might not get it was like his political leanings, maybe might cause people that are involved in voting for that to vote with their hearts instead of their heads. Because if you're voting with your head, man, this guy's the Defensive Player of the Year. He's the best player on the best defense. He's just an animal, pass rusher, pressures, and he's great against the run too. So it's not just the sacks, it's the tackles for loss. It's the attention that he requires. He's going to take up your best blocker, usually your left tackle, and then a running back's going to have to chip him too to give help, or a tight end, and or sometimes even a wide receiver or slot receiver will do it. But man, the amount of firepower it takes to even try and slow him down just opens up everything else, because the rest of our D-line is good, but other than Eric Armstead, there's really no great players on the rest of our D-line.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing I think, win or lose going forward in the next season and next year's draft, free agency period. I think a great bit of emphasis has to go on trying to get like that other guy across from Bosa next year. Everyone's like, well, it's Drake Jackson, it's this guy, it's that guy. But it's like, what I mean when I say that guy. Like a rusher, like a speed rusher, like that D Ford when he was, he's never healthy, but when he was healthy, he was that dude. And him and Bosa, Armstead, and Buckner were like this they looked a lot like how the Cowboys looked on Saturday against us in 2019. That was when I saw that defensive line and how they were always in the backfield. I instantly thought of the four of them together. But let's keep it on the defensive line. And as far as Bosa goes, I'm not surprised. He's had a little bit of a stretch where he hasn't really done much, but he did his damage in the regular season. He was responsible for at least 2 wins ending 2 games with 2 big plays, maybe even 3 if I can get it. I can't get it right. So Bosa, no surprise. DPOY, so happy that he got his recognition. Let's keep it on the D line. We got the Amenuhu situation. I don't want to speak because we don't know all the facts, but I am totally against domestic violence. So I'll just say that, but I'm not going to really go into it and slam on the guy because we really don't know the whole story. And it looks like he's going to play if things continue to stay the way they are. And he makes it to the day healthy. If he's healthy, he makes it to Sunday. What's your opinion on the Amenuhu situation, considering, it being a domestic situation? And, the Niners, I'd say for the 6 years, have been pretty good staying out of the negative spotlight.
Yeah, ever since Reuben Foster, we've made a concerted effort as a team to not acquire character risks, whether it's through signings, through trades, through drafting. We've really made people's moral character one of the higher things we consider on the checklist, and that's paid off really well. And yeah, we don't know what happened. So I hope that everything works out with Charles and his girlfriend. I will say that in California, if the police are called for domestic violence, one or both of them are going to end up in jail or with charges pressed, if you will. It's things that maybe aren't as serious as you might think end up sounding very serious. But we weren't there. We don't know. It sounds like there weren't any witnesses to it. Sounds like there wasn't any visible evidence of harm done. And she didn't have any kind of medical examination on site. Now, that doesn't mean she can't go get a medical examination later. So that could pop up. We'll see. But as soon as I heard that there were no witnesses and no medical examination and no evidence found by the police, no bruising or blood or anything like that you might find, I started to think maybe there was a chance he might play. Yesterday, I saw somebody post something about it, and it looks that that's the case. Knock on wood. We'll hope that's the way it works out. But yeah, it's a sticky situation, because if something does pop up later, then you're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have played him. It's tough. He's probably our second best pass rusher after Nick Bosa. I mean, Ebicom is a starter, but I think that's more because he's better against the run. So if he's not our second best pass rusher, he's our third best. And, it'd be a big loss if we're not able to have him. But I also, I like you. I'm against domestic violence. And I would understand if, the team changed their stance and decided to hold him out. It would be a bummer, but it's important to do the right thing for partners that have been abused, women and men. I mean, it's not just women who get abused.
Nope.
It's a serious situation, and I just hope that they can work it out. And I do hope he gets to play, but only if the circumstances are right. I hope we don't ignore anything glaring, which it sounds like we're not at this point. So I'll just, and it's hard to tell because, like I said, we weren't there. Always best to act with caution.
Before I say hi to the chat, I'll say this. I was a victim of domestic violence from a woman I dated for 2 years. Very violent, very psychotic. Mental issues, and it goes both ways. I don't like it either way. For the majority, it's usually men abusing women, but there's cases. I paid attention to that Johnny Depp case so hard because for a guy that went through it and dealt with it, it was like justification, and like finally something was being brought to the light that a lot of people don't know about. But like I said, we don't know what happened, so I'm just going to say a general statement. I was like, I don't respect domestic abuse. I don't care what your reasonings are. You just don't put your hands on a woman or vice versa. So, but let's keep it on the field without, saying that not being light of the situation, but we don't know more than that. So I'll say hi to Raphael 562. He was first in the building. I think he's one of my mods too. He keeps all the naughty people out. I started adding mods to my chat last week. Let's see here. We got Brian Culp, as usual, always in the building. Thank you very much. Alan Jackson. I don't know if you're the famous country star, but if you are, that's really awesome. He says, why do you think the media is not giving the 49ers a chance? I think maybe he was referring to, I don't know what he was referring to. Why do we think? I mean, they're the best. I mean, roster-wise, they're as good as us, if not better. So, there's reasons. They're at home. Their quarterback's really good. You can go on and on. What else we got in here? Let's go back up. That's a little sticky right now on my computer. We have Randy Daytona is in the house. How you doing? Brent Smith is in the house. How you doing? Thank you very much. I think it's Is it Labrador? He says, bang, bang. Thanks for coming through, man. Appreciate it. Never seen you in here before, so I appreciate you coming through. We have Santa Clara Era in here. He said the winners will not be announced until February 9th. Well, somebody announced it today. The defensive player in the year. I don't know exactly what he got announced for then. You saw it, right? The news about Bosa?
I didn't. You surprised me when you said it. But it doesn't mean it didn't happen. I mean, I've been distracted with a lot of different things today.
We have No Border Sports in here. Thank you, Ryan, for coming through. Me and Ryan are working on an off-season show where we won't be talking football. We're going to try to do some pop culture stuff with movies and stuff from the 80s and all sorts of things. So be on the lookout for that once the football season ends. We got the
Nice.
Sentinel in here, another longtime person that comes to the channel all the time. He says, anyways, hail First Takes. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Let's see who else. Amy and Lee in the chat, another longtime follower of the channel. I appreciate you coming through. Always respect the people that have been with me through the beginning. That always means a lot to me because I've been on YouTube almost 4 years. So thanks for everybody coming through. Let's get back on topic here. Go over your thoughts, your wrap up, because I want to do a wrap up of the champion or the divisional game, but then get into the championship game. What was your thoughts on the game on Sunday? I mean, that was a pressure filled watch there, man. That was a hard hitting, old school Chicago Bears, New York Giants type or Philadelphia Eagles type football from the 80s. I liked it and I didn't like it at the same time because I'm like, damn, we can't move the ball at all. But then at the same time, you learn to appreciate the low scoring and the how much is on the line and like how much every drive means. What was your takeaway from that game?
I mean, I feel like we kind of nailed it last week, right? I mean, Dak Prescott, big X factor. If he played well, they could win. But, he rarely plays well 2 games in a row, especially against number 1 D. Those 2 interceptions were huge. He also threw a third one to Dre Greenlaw that Dre dropped. I felt like, before the game, I expected them to wither a little bit in the fourth quarter. And sure enough, it happened late in the third. They started to show signs of fatigue from 4 road games in a row and 2 less rest days. And on top, compounded on the 2 less rest days, they had 2 travels in there as well, traveling from Tampa to Dallas and then Dallas to Santa Clara. One thing that I will say surprised me a little bit is Fred Warner playing so well. I mean, the guy's a stud, but, he had one of his best games ever, I would say. And, before the game, one of the Cowboys fans I had on asked me who was my X factor. And I said Dre Greenlaw because Dre had a lot of game-winning stuff for us. He had been really huge. But that Fred Warner pass breakup against CeeDee Lamb was ginormous, especially after Lenore had just given up a huge one to CeeDee Lamb in that drive, and they were kind of going for blood. And it was like 3rd and 5. Fred broke it up, and they kind of played like they were going to go for it on 4th and 5, but really they were just trying to get us to jump off sides. And they ended up punting, and that was a huge, huge play in the game too, I thought. So, I mean, obviously Kittle's catch was ridiculous. And I loved it because Diggs, whiffed the tackle. And I've been saying all along that Diggs doesn't like to tackle, and Kyle would target him. And so there was a Cowboys fan on yesterday tweeted something about like Trayvon Diggs, 66 snaps on defense or whatever it was, somewhere in the 60s. And on natural grass, comes off the field, his white jersey has not one grass stain on it. And I was like, yes. Because I had argued with the same guy before the game about, how Trayvon doesn't like to tackle. He's a really good ball hawk, but and he used to get burned. He's not getting burned as much, but he's also not getting as many interceptions this year. But yeah, those were the big ones for me for the game. But obviously Tony Pollard's injury, right? I mean,
that was huge. It was a turning point in the game.
Yeah, that was really important. Great tackle by Jimmy Ward. Some people said dirty. I say no way. Even though I thought the Arden Key tackle on Patrick Mahomes, I thought that was very dirty because it was different the way it happened. First of all, there were 2 people involved in that tackle on Patrick Mahomes. There was a guy in front of him and Arden Key behind him. And Arden Key had a grip on Mahomes and could have tackled him similar to how Jimmy Ward tackled Tony Pollard. But Arden Key let go and kicked his knee forward and dug it right into Mahomes' ankle. It just seemed totally intentional and totally dirty to me. And it sucks because Arden Key is an ex-Niner and I hate Patrick Mahomes, but I'm still not going to lie and say that it's clean if I think it's dirty. So
when we say we hate Mahomes, we mean we hate how good he is.
and he whoops the Niners. He beat us in the Super Bowl.
Right. It's not that person. Yeah, I hate their coach. I hate them all too, but it's not because they're bad or they suck. They're really good. And hate is a strong word. I more strongly dislike them because they're really talented. Alan Jackson
And
asked in the chat real quick. He says, "Do you think Drake Jackson gets activated for the game?" I'd hope so.
I hope so
Especially with the
too.
uncertain and maybe just because we haven't been getting a ton of really effective rush. Why not bring more bodies? Change it up. Find a situation or a combination of guys that works, because I'll be honest with you, man. A lot of people got on me before on the stream last week for saying that I thought Dallas's defensive line as a whole was better than the 49ers. And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, they're just overall more talented. They have more rushers. It's not just one guy. They got DeMarcus Lawrence. They have, of course, Parsons, and then I forget their interior defensive tackle's name. They're just really, really good.
Something.
Yeah, Ubada Habada Hubada. And and everyone's like, "Oh, how can you hate against I'm not hating against the Niners." And I told people, and everyone got like, it was twice in two streams. Everyone gets like really like protective of their fanhood. I says, you got to take off the 49er glasses and put on your, what you see on the film or what you see on, with your eyes glasses. And sure enough, Dallas's defensive line was all over the 49ers. And one of my questions on the Monday stream with the NWO stream with the guys was it the Niners offensive line or was it Dallas's defensive line? I think a little bit was our offensive line, but I think for the most part, Dallas's D line is just insane. They're good. They're really good. They have a good front. It sucks that their quarterback is kind of throws it all away on offense, because if Dallas had a quarterback that was a level, maybe 2 levels above Dak, they could be a legitimate Super Bowl contending team, because that defense is dumb good. And when I mean dumb good, I mean it's like the Niners couldn't do shit in that game. Nothing. They couldn't do anything. And it took everything for the Niners to move the ball in that game. So props to Dallas. I knew it was going to be a tough game. A lot of people are like, "Oh, we're going to blow the doors off of them." I'm like, I don't think so. This whole like you can't think with your fan cap, man. You got to think with what you see on the television when you watch other games. So what was your thought on that?
No, absolutely. We both thought it was going to be a close game. And I think their defense is really fast. The D line's really fast. It neutralized a lot of, our weapons. That's our really strength on offense, is all of our weapons. And ultimately you kind of got to like cut the head off the snake and get Brock running for his life. Then that's about your only chance of stopping this offense. If he has time, he's going to pick you apart. I mean, there's just no way. Kyle's going to scheme people open, and Purdy will get the right people the ball in the right space in a way that allows them to maximize their yak, where it's on target. They're not reaching up high or reaching back or falling over forward and falling onto the ground to get it like they were with Jimmy. Dallas is a hell of a team. I said last week, I would have no shame in losing to them. I still feel the same way. I don't think they should have any shame in losing to us either. We are two of the better teams in the NFC, although now I think we're going to be the two best playing this week in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, you can give another team props and not be a fan of the team. It doesn't take away from who you cheer for. Small town, why does your name look familiar? I just joined a 49ers Reddit, or not Reddit, a 49ers Discord today. I dropped the channel in there and dropped the link to come join. I feel like I've seen his name in there. So if that's who you are, I appreciate you coming through. The thing with that game too, and I guess we can touch on Purdy as well, is like a lot of people were like, well, maybe Purdy, was he exposed, or did Purdy kind of show you who he really was? And I really think a lot of it just had to do with Dallas's defense. And the fact that Purdy didn't make a game-altering mistake in the face of so much pressure during that game. It's what you don't do sometimes that makes you a good player or a great player. Not saying he's good or great. I'm just saying for what he was dealing with during that game, I think he played excellent. I still think the Niners have a really good offense, and they can score points with a lot of teams. But if you have a really good rush, I think whatever team you are, if there's a really good rush on your offense, you could have Joe Montana back there, even Tom Brady in his heyday, you rush the quarterback and you're really good at it. Even good quarterbacks, even Hall of Fame quarterbacks look pedestrian. So props to Purdy for, being the guy that he is and staying within himself and not trying to do too much. He did enough, that the throw to Kittle was like the last man in the progression, if even in the progression, and he threw that pass to him. So what was your takeaway on Purdy during the game?
Yeah, I mean, he did make one mistake. He threw it to Trayvon Diggs, who dropped it. But I'm totally fine with one interception a game or one interceptable ball a game. I think it's a lot less than Jimmy. And, it's not just what's the bad part, it's what's the good part. And, he had a pretty good side. I think it was like I saw Jack Hammer post something where I think he had like a 15 or 17 yard pass on every scoring drive we had, including the TDs and the field goals. So he threw at least one decently long throw, at least not short throw, let's say, on every scoring drive. So it's not just like what bad happens, but like what's the payoff? What good comes from it? And there's a lot of good. And he doesn't make the dumb decisions. He doesn't. Somebody called the Kittle ball, the big Kittle catch, the acrobatic circus catch. I saw somebody said it was like a hospital ball. I'm like, well, it kind of turned out to be one, but it wasn't when Kittle made the first stab at it. It was after it bounced off his helmet, bounced off his hand, and then came back into his hands again that Diggs had a beat on him and could have really creamed him. So that's a real big difference between Purdy and Jimmy. Is Jimmy's throwing, a couple 3 hospital balls every game, and Purdy's throwing one every 3 games, maybe, if even that. So I'm really happy with him. I did say I was one of those people who said we might see, that DCs might have figured him out and we might not have noticed it because the defenses weren't good enough. Now Dallas defense was good enough. We saw a little bit. That's sort of what I expected. He might not be as great as what we've been seeing, but still good enough to get it done. And I think we'll see more of that against the Eagles. I think the one variable there is crowd noise. It'll be loud in Philadelphia, and that could create a little bit more of an issue. But I think their defense is a little bit slower than the Dallas defense. And I have an explanation, as far as, I don't know, when we want to get to the D line, we can talk about that. The Eagles D line and sacks and all.
Yeah, and I understand. I understand Moses Martinez when he says, "I'll never give credit to the Cowboys and their fan base. The hatred that I have towards them comes from the '90s." I'm right there with you, homie. He says, "So I don't know what you're talking about, saying you don't mind his." I don't know, man. Like, don't get me wrong. When that game ended, I didn't go on social media and brag too much, okay? But I have some good friends that are Cowboys fans. Good people. Like, I've known them since they were kids and I was younger. So I didn't go that route. But I uploaded a whole bunch of stuff on my YouTube channel. You can check it out. I got people breaking TVs. I got Skip Bayless with his fake meltdown and throwing his, our jersey in the trash. I even uploaded Stephen A. Dude, I'm sorry, but I laughed my ass off when I saw that. The camera turns and it comes towards Stephen A. and he just starts bawling out laughing. I thought that was great. So I can understand your take on not wanting to give any credit, but I go about it maybe because I'm a content creator and I'm not super controversial. I try to keep it low key just because I don't want to get in. The hate's good, I guess. It's attention, right? But that's just my style. But I'm not telling anybody how to feel about the Cowboys or whatever, because I don't like it either. Listen, when the Bills lost this past Saturday, my brother's a Dolphins fan. He was laughing his ass off because they talk around here in Rochester, because I'm in Bills country, they talk so much trash for never winning a Super Bowl. And you can say what you want about the Dolphins, but the Dolphins have too. Even though they're in the 70s, they still count, right? So the way we felt about beating Dallas or Seattle is the same way that Bills fans or Dolphins fans felt about the Bills losing. And the Bills got their asses whooped in that game. They didn't put up any fights. So everybody has their own way of dealing with stuff. I understand that. He says, Aaron, do your Cowboys friends still have their TVs? Yes, they do. I actually, they gave me credit on Facebook after saying it was a good game and the Niners were the better team and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Do we need a proof of life picture of their TVs?
I should ask him, but I don't want to stir up any old some wounds. Chris Hansen's like Josh Allen will never win. Yeah, there's something about Josh Allen, Chris, that I just it's hard to put my finger on, but it's like he lacks that clutch. I don't know what it is. He lacks something.
Run game. Other than him. Run game other than him.
Right. Yeah, he is their run game. And I think they need more weapons. I think Diggs is pretty much all they got.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't a Bills channel. We're not going to talk about the Bills. We talked about Purdy and the offense. They kind of go hand in hand. The defense, I called this on the Friday stream when we had all those people on there, when I said that I thought Dallas's D-line was better. And then everyone's like, whoa, what? I said the defense is going to have to do something in this game. You know, I have a feeling that the 49ers offense might be tested. And everyone's like, no, we're going to blow the doors off of them. And I'm like, I didn't think so. Our defense played really good, man. Other than that one big play that Lenore gave up, they looked pretty fantastic. They still didn't get a lot of rush on the quarterback, which really is starting to get under my nerves because, you need it in the playoffs, but maybe, who knows, maybe they come alive against Philly. But what was your take on the Niners defense? Do you think that they kind of returned to form somewhat?
They were good. No doubt about it. I mean, I think last week when we said, who do we trust more to win the game? And I said, I kind of copped out and I said, neither. And then I said, well, probably the defense slightly. If I have to pick one, I trust the defense a little more than the offense because I knew the Dallas Cowboys defense was real good and fast. But yeah, I mean, they played really well. Fred Warner was a man on fire. Bosa, he didn't have any sacks, but the defense has to account for him. They have to, like we were talking about earlier, they have to devote a lot of resources to him, and it opens things up for other guys. So I'm pretty happy with our defense. I do worry about, the Eagles with, they have a couple things that can be kryptonite for us. One is a mobile quarterback, and Hurts is more mobile than Dak is. And they have a really good offensive line. As long as Lane Johnson can be effective, their O-line is quite a bit better than the Cowboys O-line. So those two things, and I think AJ Brown is a better receiver than CeeDee Lamb. So all those things concern me a little bit more from the Eagles than from the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm massively concerned about their team going into this game. They got everything that the Niners have issues with on their offense: mobile quarterback and really good outside weapons. Those are the two things the Niners really.
Number one run game too.
Yeah, and they got a really good run game. Was it Miles Sanders as their running back, correct?
Yeah, and they got Gainwell also as a change of pace. And then they got the other guy who is Boston, who's the Giants killer. He's got like 11 of his 18 TDs came against the Giants. It's wild.
Let's just say that the Niners are going to need everything in
Boston
the kitchen.
Scott.
Boston Scott. That's an interesting name.
Yeah.
The Niners are going to need everything in the kitchen, in the kitchen sink in order to beat the Eagles. This is going to be no easy task. Never saying it's impossible, but if you listen to Kane, I was listening to KNBR this morning, and they had some guys he's not a Eagles guy, but he is from around Philly, I think. He thinks the Eagles are going to win by multiple touchdowns. So, there's that. So, I mean, you have to deal with the reality of how good the Eagles really are. It's going to take a Herculean effort unless they come out and turn the ball over. I mean, that's kind of like the Niners, could be the Niners saving grace, is the Niners turn people over, right? So what's a good way for the team that shouldn't win or shouldn't lose against a team that they should beat? What's a good way to lose, right? And it's turnovers, mistakes. You might be the better team on paper. You might be the better team overall, but mistakes in one game, it's a one-game playoff. You have one of those games where you're kicking the ball around the field, so to speak. That's all it really takes. So if the Niners can get a couple turnovers and turn them into tutties, then, then we might have something here. But if the Niners come into this game and they're giving up massive amounts of yards, they're not getting anything done on offense, and kicking the ball back to Philly, then it might be something. So we'll see.
Jalen Hurts, he didn't throw a lot of interceptions. He only threw about 6. But, we led the league in interceptions, and they did have a lot of fumbles lost. And so that might be another way. Maybe we get an interception and a fumble lost. I could see that happening potentially. And, there are some ways their defense is really good. But I was saying I had a theory about their sacks. They led the league in sacks. But part of that is that they established these really big leads quickly against a lot of teams. And then these teams are having to drop back and pass. There's no play action. There's no running the ball. There's no mystery. So they can pin their ears back and come and rack up more sacks than they might have in a more balanced game, which is what I think we'll be able to give them. I think they haven't played a defense as good as ours because nobody has, right? We're the number 1 D. And even though there were times this year where I thought statistically we were number 1 and eye test we weren't, I think eye test we're number 1 now. After seeing the Cowboys defense and what I know of the Eagles D. And then there are some ways to attack their defense. They're number 22 against tertiary or wide receivers not 1 and 2. So Juwan Jennings could be a factor. They're number 24 against backs catching out of the backfield, and we got some good ones there. Obviously, CMC arguably the best. Debo is really good catching out of the backfield, and Juszczyk also. So we could leverage that. And then, they're number 6 against tight ends, but that's like an average for the entire year against average tight ends then, right? I mean, that's not against George Kittle, who's the best, or you could say maybe the second best tight end in the league at receiving. And I won't go into a long diatribe about why I think he's the best, but let's just say second best. So even there, I think that's going to turn into more like 12th or 15th, kind of like more average, maybe even 20th against Kittle. So that might be another way we can attack them. Those are the 3 areas I think in the passing game we can attack them if we can buy Purdy enough time to get the ball off.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of time against Dallas. They did a really good job, and they tackled really well. They got to the ball carrier really well. One of the things that me and you were talking about off screen is, it's one of my topics, but we can kind of hit it and kind of mix it in what we're talking about. We have some players that might give them some matchup issues, but a lot of those players we're talking about are dinged up. Debo with a knee, but you said he practiced today. CMC has the calf contusion, but from all reports is he's going to make it a go. And then, of course, Elijah Mitchell with the groin. But, Kyle made it sound like it's playoffs. They're going to play through it. That's worrying because that's 3 really good weapons. The Niners have the pieces to win this game on offense. They're not the New York Giants. Really, it just comes down to pass protection. And if Purdy can have some time, he can make some plays. You said that their defensive line is a little bit slower. I mean, the Niners, that might be all the Niners need, just a little bit of time, whether it's developing a long developing rush play or some pass. The Niners, everything they do is pretty, not mediocre. What's the word I'm looking for? Is depth-wise as far as their pass game is very, short, intermediate. So
intermediate, yeah,
not mediocre. So it'd be interesting to see if, those little bits of, fact that you dropped about their speed and some of their issues with backs catching out of the backfield. You said what the other one was, the third wide receiver, their slot. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're talking about? So, I mean, the Niners need to, maybe that's what they're focusing on in the meetings this week. The Niners have enough to do it. It's just, can they do it? And can they withstand that initial rush, with the crowd in the beginning of the game? You know how it goes. I mean, a couple of like in 2019, neither of our opponents were in the game at all. We smoked Dallas. We smoked the Vikings and we smoked the Packers. And that can happen even if a team's really good. It's an environment, it happens, and the game could go down real quickly. So the Niners, I guess the only way to stop that is if they can possess the ball and they're effective with the running game. They can keep that defense off, or that offense off the field. And that's kind of the way you beat a really good offense, is make them have to sit on the sidelines. So those injuries concern me, though, for sure. I'm definitely concerned about the three of those guys. What's you said that the one that concerns you the most is McCaffrey?
Yeah, his calf. McCaffrey's calf.
McCaffrey's calf. What do do?
Yeah, he has a contusion or a bruise, essentially. Probably took a helmet there or something like that, or an elbow or a knee into his calf. Yeah, no, it sounds like he will be hurt still for Sunday, and obviously he is the engine that makes our offense go. So that's a concern, and then with Mitchell with the groin, that's also a concern. He's very explosive. I mean, we've got Jordan Mason, who's a heck of a back, but I think Kyle doesn't want to use him because Mitchell is just like, he never fumbles, right? And so as good as Mason is, Mason may not fumble either. We just don't know yet. He hasn't enough carries to really say that about him yet. And then Debo concerns me a little bit just because we heard about CMC and Mitchell yesterday, and they said, oh, it's day to day, he'll play. And then Debo popped up today. But I guess the fact that he practiced, at least in limited fashion today, is good. So, yeah, but those are three of our best weapons. I mean, other than Kittle, that's three of our four best weapons are dinged up. I do think also Ayuk might come into that conversation, even though they're like number 2 and number 4 against number 1 and 2 receivers. They're really good, the Eagles are, because they got Slay and Bradbury as corners. But even the best corner, I feel like Ayuk can gain some separation on. It's just, can Brock get the ball on him quickly before the cornerbacks inevitably gain back ground and make the PBU or make an interception? So that'll be the big question. But I do think there will be some opportunities for Ayuk, as good as the Eagles corners are. He's such a filthy route runner that he knows where he's going and they don't, and he'll be able to get a little separation that way, even against the best of the best.
Ryan put up a point that I agree with 100%. He says, I have a feeling we'll score more points this game, but I have a feeling we'll give up more also. It's kind of where my mind is right now too. As good as our defense is, I mean, they're loaded. Although I did see this from Tony. He says that A.J. Brown might be out. I didn't see that. What's this? Do you know anything about that?
I mean, I don't. I saw somebody in a chat and on one of my shows yesterday saying A.J. Brown, I think it's his hip. And then on a different show, somebody looked it up and it said he had a rest day yesterday. So I'm like, oh, well, then he's not injured. But now we're hearing it again. I'm honestly just going to claim ignorance. I don't know on that, but obviously that would be a massive loss because he's their best receiver.
That means we can really double down on freaking what's his nuts?
Devonta Smith.
Smith. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be huge. That could be really, really huge. Reaper Cobra 96. I think you're new to the channel here because I've never seen you. He says New Orleans and the Commanders both beat the Eagles, and they both have good defenses. So that's something to keep in mind. I mean, the Niners have the guys to do it. It's just a matter of, can they get the pass rush and the coverage to kind of link up. It seems like sometimes it's either one or the other with the 49ers. Either the rush is really good and the back end sucks, or the back end's great and the rush sucks. So we need the rush to step up. They need to step up majorly.
Yeah. It's fallen off a little bit. I was just going to say, the Saints have a real good defense, but that was also not against Jalen Hurts. So, I have you saw this, somebody's made a parody account, Hamilton Talks Ball. That's my dog, Hamilton, a picture of my dog. His nickname is Hambone. And just real quick,
how does anybody know about your dog?
It's on social media. There's pictures of him. I've posted stuff.
That's
on
only
Twitter.
one. That could be only one person then, unless they.
You know who this is? I have no clue.
I don't know who it is, but he could be him. And if it is, I mean, like, really? I don't know if you want me to do anything with it or just.
No, I mean, whatever. I'm curious to know who it is.
Hamilton Talks Ball. I thought it might be Steve Supremo. Oh, he's the king of parody accounts. I mean, I guess as long as he doesn't access my account,
Yeah. So Hamilton's he's a husky corgi yellow lab Samoyed mix with some Chihuahua in there, and his nickname's Hambone, which is a little more casual. Yeah, it's my first parody account. At least
that's awesome.
on
You have
YouTube.
arrived. You have a parody account now. Chris Matson says, "Will Lincoln Financial be half red this Sunday?" That would be great. I don't know if that's gonna be the case though. That is woo.
That's a rough sledding in there, boy.
That's a tough stadium to play in, and then I got that. Listen,
especially to wear red in too.
Yeah,
you take your life in your own hands.
You might get drafted. Listen, I'm a big guy, and I know Ryan's a big guy, but there's one of us, and there's like 60,000 of them. So you might not want to go in there bumping your gums about how great the 49ers are, because you can't take on the whole place. What was I going to say? Let's talk something else about the Eagles. It's at the bottom of my list of topics, but since we're on the Eagles and their stadium, let's talk about Nick Sirianni. What a massive clown this guy is. I have no issues with their team. I have no issues with them as an organization. I think they're awesome. I give respect for them because they're a really talented team. I don't have any ill will like he did back in the day against, say, like the Patriots or whatever. But this guy with this posing and, he's like the peacock with the feathers out in front of the camera. It's like, if there's one reason you want to beat him besides wanting to get to the Super Bowl, would be to freaking wipe that stupid ass smirk off his face. Can you agree with me on that one?
Oh yeah, there's that meme of him going,
oh man,
with his headset bobbing. And
that got me so hot. And I don't mean in a sexual way. I mean, like, I was pissed off.
Yeah, no, I mean the guy, he's really unlikable, no doubt about it.
He fits right in with the city. I mean, they booed Santa and they cheered Michael Irvin pretty much breaking his neck. So, I mean, it fits right in, right?
Yeah, no, it does. No doubt about it. I was going to say about the link. I think it was either there or their last stadium was like one of two stadiums. One of them's out of commission now. The Oakland Coliseum was the other that actually had jail cells built in, because there's so much trouble. They needed a place to restrain people that were acting out. And also I've heard at the Oakland Coliseum of people like going in their colors and they go up to use the restroom. They come back and their jersey's gone because somebody not so politely asked them to take it off and didn't come back to the stands with it. So definitely both tough places to be an opposing fan.
Randy Daytona says that just 20% Niner fans. Yeah, I wouldn't assume the Eagles are going to give up their seats to 49er fans. I want to go back to the divisional round for a second. Did you see all these videos of these people breaking their TVs or running over their TVs?
Yeah.
What the heck, man? Like, listen, my brother's like, see how stupid it looks? Because I used to have a temper. I've broken stuff watching football games. Not my TV, though. That's a massive investment. What's your take on it? Chat, you can chime in too. Like, how pathetic can you be to break, a TV that's probably $2,000 in some cases, maybe more than $2,000. Very expensive, put it that way. Yeah. What's up with that?
I mean, I think it's kind of like the Skip Bayless thing. It's like an annual rite of passage for them now, where like
I was getting a new one anyways.
Yeah, that's not like they're like not cool if they don't do it to protest, Jerry Jones, Dak Prescott, whatever the case may be. I'd be frustrated too especially if you start out every season like this is our year, we're going to do it this year, and then they haven't been to the NFC Championship game since 1996. That's what always bugs me when people say that we're like the Cowboys because we haven't won a Super Bowl since the 90s. But I'm like, dude, we've been to 6 NFC Championships, and when we didn't, and even, obviously when we made it to the Super Bowl, whoever beat us won the Super Bowl. And when we didn't make it to the Super Bowl, whoever beat us in the championship game won the Super Bowl. So not a lot of shame in that, if you ask me. I mean, it is frustrating, but it's, it's still a hell of an accomplishment. And people say winning it all is the only thing that matters. I do disagree with that. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'll be happy if we lose this weekend or lose.
There's so much more to life, man.
But getting here this far, 3 out of 4 years, you're a freaking contender, and players want to play for contenders, and people who buy season tickets want to buy tickets to watch contenders. And so, it's hard to win a Super Bowl. It is. I mean, you see how difficult it is. You got to have a really good team and usually some good luck too. So And, you can't have the refs hose you. I always have to bring that up, my little tinfoil hat theories.
And I want to touch on that in a second, but Mac wanted to ask, and we'll jump back to the Eagles in the run. He says the Eagles have the 20th ranked run defense. Niners going to expose that. Talk about that, host. Thank you. I will follow your order. Yeah, I think we have the dogs and that can hopefully expose that if both of them are healthy. They're both a little dinged up, but if they both play, what's your thing? You think is this going to be a solid dose of McCaffrey if he's healthy, or do you think it'll be more of a mix, more of a fitty split? How do you think that'll go?
I think we should be able to run it pretty well against them, better than we did against the Cowboys, because the Cowboys have like a number 6 run defense or something like that, or 5 maybe. But I don't think the Eagles are as bad as 22 sounds for a few different reasons. One was that I brought up they got out to a lot of early leads where they're playing 2 high safeties, which is to avoid giving up the big pass, which allows short passes and makes it easier to run too when you don't have your safeties stacking the box. So that's one. But also Jordan Davis, their big defensive tackle they drafted out of Georgia, missed some time this year. And they signed Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh late in the season, well after the trade deadline, after the Commanders loss, in fact. Somebody brought up the Commanders loss earlier. That's an interesting one because that was Jalen Hurts against the Commanders, and they ran it 49 times. They only got like 3-ish yards per carry, but they dominated the run game, at least in volume, if not, with quantity, if not quality. And they did get some turnovers, a couple or 3 turnovers, and won that game. But since then, they added Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. Jordan Davis is back. So they've got a lot of big defensive tackles to go with Hargrave and Fletcher Cox, who are bona fide stud defensive tackles. So for those reasons, I don't think their run D is as bad as that 22 sounds. But I do think we'll have more success running than we did against the Cowboys.
That's good. Thank you very much. I know you are, because you write, you have to you get into the numbers and the statistics and analytics and stuff. So I figured I'd ask you that. The one thing you were talking about before, and this is how I try to wrap my mind mentally around if we don't win. And I know it's not a guarantee that, when, even players say, you don't get these opportunities all the time, so you got to catch in. The way the Niners are built, at least right now in the foreseeable future, they are a contender. Barring serious injuries to big-time players, this team is built to be in it for a while, especially if they go with Purdy as their quarterback going forward and they get rid of Jimmy. And you have all these multiple picks, mid-rounders. They could be receiving another third. What would they have, 5 thirds this year?
Something 4 or 5, like that. We got 11 picks overall.
So think about this.
Maybe
you hit
2
on your
more
draft
for
picks. You have a couple free agent signings here and there. You lose guys. You're always going to be in it. And everybody's young. Bosa's young. Warner's young. Greenlaw's young. Armstead's getting up there, A guy like Tyshawn Gibson, the Niners, they hit the nail on the head with that one. I can't see the Niners just if they don't make it this year, falling off and not making the playoffs. I mean, it can happen. Like I said, if massive injuries. But I think we've turned the corner, so to speak, on where we kind of figured out injuries a little bit. Maybe it's just this year. And we just have so much talent on the team as a whole that I think we'll be up there. But be up there every year, but it's not a guarantee you're going to get up there. And it's tough, man. This is a tough game for the Niners. They're going to have a really hard time. And if they could somehow find a way to come out on top of this game, it would be one of the biggest upsets. I guess they're only a 2-point. I think they're only the Eagles are only 2-point favorite right now. So it wouldn't be like the biggest upset of all time. But as 49er fans, it would be a Herculean effort that they made it to the Super Bowl, only to have to face another incredible team. The Niners are not going to get a championship this year without beating the best of the best. There is no Patriots getting a scrub ass team and beating them in the Super Bowl. The Niners have it. And my nephew always makes this point. He's like, how come every time the Niners are really good, so is everybody else? I'm like, right? There's no sweep. It's not basketball. They're not going 4-0 in the finals. The Niners are going to have to earn every single thing. So it would make it that much sweeter if they were to win it this year. It would have been different if we could have got the first seed, because then they would have changed a lot of things. I would have felt way more comfortable about the Eagles coming to Santa Clara, because I think our home crowd has definitely turned the corner, and it's more of a something that to be talked about now than maybe in the beginning with Levi's. From what a lot of the players were saying, Levi's on Saturday or this past Sunday was as loud as they've ever heard the stadium, which is the biggest complaint everybody had about Levi's, that it didn't have the personality that Candlestick did, right? Yeah. I never went to Candlestick, but it had all the memories and all the great games and the Montanas and the Youngs and the Jerry Rices and the Ronnie Lotts and all these great players. And when you have that kind of history, there's a magic to it. The 49ers were to somehow get a ring within the next couple of years in Levi's. The whole perception, the perception's changed a lot around the league as the 49ers as an organization. But even the stadium is starting to kind of take on a little bit of its own character. But yeah, do you think the Niners can be a perennial contender, or you think they've kind of reached a little bit of a tipping point, but in a positive direction?
Yeah, I think we're a ringless dynasty right now.
Yes.
I think, we've got 3 NFC championships and a Super Bowl in the last 4 years. We've got great coach in Kyle Shanahan, great GM, and Adam Peters is doing great work as a scout, getting these late round picks for us. We have a young core. The oldest players are Trent Williams, who's like 34. I think Kittle just turned or is about to turn 30. And like you said, Eric Armstead, 28 or 29. But the rest are pretty young. Most of them are under 26 or younger. So there's no reason that we can't keep sort of lather, rinse, repeat. But yeah, you just never know when you'll get back. And so I really hope we do it this time. I just worry about that, the NFL not wanting a rookie quarterback to get to the Super Bowl or let alone win one.
Freaking Vegas doesn't want the 49ers to win.
No, Caesars has too many books out with people betting on the Niners. They don't want to have to pay out. So I just wonder how much of that we'll see through the referee and officiating.
Isn't that crazy to think about? Let me ask you. Let me address Larry Edwards first. He says he doesn't think Philly's a juggernaut. He says the line's only 2.5. We are a solid team and we play well on the road. I hope we take over the Linkus fans. I don't think they're going to take over from what a lot of people are saying. It's more like 80-20. And you're right. We are a really good road team. And I'm not expecting the Niners to come out and lay an egg. But Philly, if you're talking about a team who is as loaded roster-wise as the 49ers, the one thing that they got over us is they have Jalen Hurts. I love Brock Purdy to death. Y'all know. You've been listening to the stream the last 6-7 weeks. You guys, I've sing the praises of Brock Purdy like he's the second coming of Jesus Christ. But that cat is really good, Hurts. He's gotten the chance that we all wanted Trey Lance to have, the growth little by little, surrounded by really good talent that we probably might not ever see. They're not unbeatable. They've proven this year that they can be beat, but it's an 18-game season. We almost lost to the Raiders. We played absolutely horrible on defense against the Raiders. We got beat by the Atlanta. We got beat by the Bears. So it happens. Nobody's unbeatable nowadays, and the Broncos. So, but you're right, Larry. If the Niners were at home, I'd feel a little bit better about this game. And I'm not saying we're not going to win. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to take. If the Niners win the game, I might do a live stream after the game. And I don't like doing live streams after games because everybody does them. So I'll have 2 people watching me, but I might have to do it just because I can't believe this. So we'll see. We will see.
So one thing real quick, I don't know if you saw this meme that's been going around, but there's one comparing the last 7 games of Jalen Hurts to the last 7 games of Brock Purdy. And of course they don't list run yards. So, take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
But other than that, they list win-loss. They're both 7-0. They list passing yards per game. Hurts is 234. Purdy is 234.9. Completion percentage, Hurts is 64.8. Brock is almost 2 points higher at 66.7. So 1.9 points higher in passing, or 1% higher. Here's one. Pass TDs to interception. Hurts is 10-3. Purdy 14-2. So 4 higher and 1 less. 4 higher TDs, 1 less interception for Brock Purdy. Passer rating, this is a big one. 96.8 for Hurts, 116.0 for Purdy. So 19.2 points higher for Brock Purdy. And then pass plus rushing TDs, total 17 for Hurts, 16 for Purdy. So even though Hurts has more rushing TDs and more TDs total, only one more TD total if you count the passing plus rushing. And that's over the last 7 games. And the Eagles did not play a lot of really good teams over the last 7 games. They played the Giants 3 times. They played, and that's a playoff team. So I guess that's good compared to average.
Yeah, but if you really look at the Giants.
Yeah, they don't have a lot after Danny Dimes and Saquon.
There's Danny Dimes and Saquon, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and they played like the Saints, who they lost to. The only really good team they played was Dallas, and I don't even know if they're really good. They sure look good against us anyway.
I like that profile pic. Look at that chain he's got.
That is some good drip, no doubt about it.
I can't get away with that kind of drip. I try to grip, and my brother tells me to stop talking like that. He's like, don't say the word drip. The recovery says Jalen gets credit for beating an inferior Giants team, but Purdy gets no credit for being better Cowboys team. Yeah. But it's like the David and Goliath recovery. It's the Eagles are like, they got the sexy quarterback who might be MVP this year. The Niners are on their 3rd quarterback, a guy that was picked last in the draft. If somehow he was able to orchestrate a win against the Eagles and whoever we face in the Super Bowl, Purdy would go down in legend status. Legend status. It is a David and Goliath matchup as far as the quarterbacks go with these teams. So, of course, he's not going to get the coverage. He's going to get shunned. He's not going to get the spotlight. You got one guy who can run around, which is the next thing I want to ask you. I don't know how much time you have left or how long you can go.
As much as you need.
So, one thing I noticed the Niners still have an issue with that they never seem to address. I mean, they've gotten a little better at it. Is the mobile quarterback? It's like they don't leave a spy in. I don't know what they rush upfield and they rush right past it. The quarterback constantly. It's infuriating. I watch games and I'm like, that's about the only time I think about breaking something. It's just their inability to ever stop anybody that scrambles. That's huge going against Hurts, right? I mean, he's like ridiculous. He runs like a 4.2 40. What the hell can the Niners figure out a way to stop them, or is it going to be more of the same?
I mean, you got to spy them, I think, which is hard when they've got all those weapons. If AJ Brown is out, that really helps. Then that could free up somebody.
Why don't you free up someone like Greenlaw or somebody to spy him?
Greenlaw or Fred Warner are the 2 obvious, or even Azeez Al-Shire. Hufanga, I don't think is quite big or fast enough to do the job.
It's tough to watch because we're so good in so many areas, but that's the one thing that really bothers me. And I know maybe I'm picky, but it always seems like I watch the rush, I watch it go past, and I watch the quarterback step up, and he gets like 15 yards every time, and there's not a soul within 15 yards of him. And then, of course, you got a guy like Jimmy Ward, who, if I was a player, I would be just like him, who takes a late shot at a quarterback, because I hate running quarterbacks. If I was a player and the quarterback was running, I would try to take his hat off. I wouldn't care if I got fined. I hate it. I think it's such a bitch move to run as a quarterback and then slide, or to do the fake slide but not actually go down. They need to change. They need to change that rule. That rule needs to be changed. I think it's bogus. I think it's crap. I think the fact that a quarterback can deke a defensive player. You ever notice, though, how players have to slow up and then guys will pick the speed back up and go around them or go through them or whatever? I hate that.
Yeah. Kyler Murray used to do it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awful. And I could see Jalen Hurts doing that on Sunday for sure. I think the trick, is to not do so many like games that they call it on defensive line, right? The stunts where the guys switch off. So you're not going to generate as much pressure, and you're going to leave yourself open to him picking you apart more. But I think I'd rather have him slowly pick us apart than bust huge runs constantly, because guys are not maintaining gap integrity. And, you got to do a mush rush. You got to basically make sure that you're not more than a step or two ahead of the guy on the other side of you. You got to see what they're doing and adjust your rush accordingly.
I think the fact that we don't have interior push sometimes has a lot to do with the fact that guys get kind of spun out or they get washed. A lot of the chat, the recovery 716 and Larry Edwards are talking a lot about the defense. And the recovery says that he's yet to play the number one defense. And then Larry said, let's see how Jalen does in a close game. Put the pressure on him to beat us. Make him not even thinking about running the ball. And then the other one he says is coverage blitzes. We should take care of Hurts run. It should take care of Hurts running. We have to do that. Yeah. The only thing I say is you got to get home. Like, you can't bounce off of guys. Like, if you're going to go for the hit, man, knock his ass out. You know what I mean? Like, take him out. Like, that safety that happened that would have ended the game. What the heck was Armstead doing, man? Like, blow his ass up. You're 6'7". Toss him like a rag doll, out of the end zone. Pick him up, toss him. The fact that he got bucked and moved backwards and he was able to throw the ball, oh my God. If they would have came back and won that game, that would have been one of the biggest defensive blunders I've ever seen. But they're right. We've got to do something different. We got to give him looks that he hasn't seen. Coverage blitzes work, but you guys, if you don't, then there's a void that they can throw to. It's going to take. They're not unbeatable, but like I said, they do have two things that the Niners have a kryptonite towards: mobile quarterbacks and really good outside weapons. Then they have to face possibly two of them. So, I mean, Diamador Lenore, as much as he's been, keeping receipts and talking about how he likes to hate, he is susceptible to give up a big play at least once a game. So he needs to figure out a way to not let that happen this game. And Javarius Ward needs to get his swagger back, because it looks like he's playing like he lost his spine or something. Like, bro, like, you're damn good. Play like it. I mean, the Niners, they have all the requisite pieces to do this. It's just a matter of, can they? And then, like I said, the rush is the biggest thing. I mean, they just haven't been getting home, and when they do, they over pursue, and guys are moving around and getting first downs running the ball, and it's infuriating to watch. So they have to be on their best in this game. So I don't know.
Do you feel like Travarius Ward was bad against Dallas, or was that just from the Seahawks game with DK?
No, I thought he played better again. He was playing a lot off. I don't know. They were saying something about how he was playing very off. And the thing with the Niners that I noticed too is when their rush is better, their DBs play better. The Niners rush doesn't get home. So a lot of times when you see these long developing pass plays that happen, I don't care who's covering back there. Especially if you're playing zone and guys are running through zones and they're clearing one zone, clearing another zone, like on a deep crosser, or, one of the announcers says that Travarius was playing off because he was timing his coverage with the rush, and the rush really never got there. So it looked like he was giving up all this space, but he did that because it was supposed to work in unison with the rush. Something that the broadcaster said. And because the Niners haven't been getting home and getting sacks, it's been, the DBs look a little bit worse than maybe they really are. So.
Well, and I feel like Travarius Ward is like a press man corner. If you got him playing off and playing zone, that is not his strength. So.
No. He is the guy that, and there's no such thing as a shutdown corner anymore. I just don't believe it. Everybody gets beat. I mean, look at Jalen Ramsey. He gets beat. Yeah. It's just, it doesn't exist anymore. So, let me see what else we got here. Let's talk special teams. We had like an uneven game. We had a block kick, which was great. Block extra point. We had a kick return of like almost 50 yards. But we've had some really bad kick return coverage. I don't know what the hell's going on. So that's a worry of mine, to be honest with you, is kick coverage. They're like hot or cold. What's your take on special teams from the last game and just as a whole?
Yeah, it was. I mean, part of it's that Turpin guy they got on the Cowboys is just really fast. I saw him bust some earlier in the season. He's definitely a big threat as a kick returner to any kick return team. I think part of the problem is Robbie Gould isn't strong enough to kick it into the end zone. So where you just force the touchback or make it, a lot more difficult of a run back if they do decide to run it.
Yeah, it's like low. It's like low, and it's more of a. It's less of an arc and more of a straight. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And my brother's like, well, no, maybe they're kicking like that on purpose. Your coverage is bad. I'm like, no, our coverage is bad, and also he has no legs. So
no, he's 38 years old. That's the answer. Or 39, however old he is. He's old as hell. But it's hard to get too mad at Robbie Gould when he's still perfect in the playoffs. I mean, no missed PATs, no missed field goals. And boy, we needed a lot. We
needed every bit of it
to beat the Cowboys. Yeah.
Yep.
So, hopefully we can figure out that coverage stuff. Maybe somebody's been injured. I know Tarvarius Moore is a good gunner. I know George Odom is a good gunner. We've been seeing a lot of Danny Gray. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe he did make at least one really nice. There was a punt against the Seahawks where I was like, oh shoot, Wisnowski kicked it 56 yards. And it always worries me that you're going to outkick the coverage. And Danny Gray got right down and pasted the guy before he even took a step. He didn't fair catch it. That was at Levi's. I was there for the wild card weekend against the Seahawks. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's Danny Gray playing too much and not enough Tarvarius Moore, Odom. Those guys are two of our better special teams gunners for sure.
Yeah, I think just they played an uneven game, and I know a lot of people are asking in the chat like, when is Ray going to do his thing? I mean, he's been solid. But yeah, he hasn't broken one yet. And then Niners haven't had a kick return or a punt return in, was it since Ted Ginn probably, right?
Yeah. No, Ray, he at least had that nice reverse against the Commanders, a 71-yard reverse for a touchdown that kind of broke that game open for us. And then it was great because that was a 99-yard drive. That was when we started at our 1. We turned them over on downs on the 1-yard line. And we got a little breathing room, and the next thing you know, here comes the reverse to Ray for 71. That was beautiful down the right sideline. But yeah, other than that, he's been a little bit of a disappointment, I would say. Especially, we all knew the fumble was coming. I'm surprised it took this long.
Wait, it happened on the anniversary, I think, of the Kyle Williams fumble too. It was kind of fitting.
Yeah, that is fitting, no doubt about it. So hopefully, got it out of his system. Can't have any of that against the Eagles, that's for sure.
Tony in the chat, he has a last name similar to mine, kind of. I almost want to call him Tony Lasagna, but it's Lusignan? Lusignan, and I'm Labigan. I wonder, it looks like it's either Italian. It's got to be.
I bet it's like lasagna, but it's like Lucinian.
Lucinian, yeah. Because I have my last name Lusignan. They said French, close enough. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to butcher your last name. You just have an interesting last name. If that's your last name. My last name's Labigan, Labigan. Nobody has it. They say it's French, but my mom's born in Sicily, and my dad was Irish, so I'm a half-breed. I told my mom, I was like, nobody can call me a half-breed but me, because I'm actually a half-breed.
Fair enough.
Because it's really offensive. But like, yeah, I can call myself. Mine is French also. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I have some French.
Because they did genealogy with me and they couldn't find anything. They found something similar in Ireland. It was like Labgan or Labi. It was spelled a little different, but it was kind of similar. So like maybe my name changed or something, but his is French also. Interesting.
Well, Hazelrig. My last name is Germanic. In Germany, it was Hasselried, which means top of the ridge. And then when they came to England, it was Hazelrig with 2 G's. And when they came across, to the colonies, they dropped a G. And so it's Hazelrig with 1 G. But there's English, German, and I have French too. There's a barrel. Barrel is kind of a funny way of spelling it, but so a little bit of a half breed myself.
He says his name goes back to the Holy Wars guy ruler of Israel. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know exactly what the French goes back on my time. I mean, I know I have in the Sicilian side. I'm part. I have Genovese, which is the crime family. Genovese crime family. I have Genovese on my. I have what the hell was that guy's name that ruled down in South America for a while, or what the hell was his name? I always forget the last name. Spanish. There's a lot of different stuff that goes up into Sicily. But yeah, I have my mom's last name is actually Greek. So yeah, I'm a European mutt with a big nose and red hair. So, and I'm 6'3", and most Italians are like 5'4". So I'm just
genetic lottery.
Yeah, I won the genetic. Well, not in the face, but in the body possibly. But that's about it. You can't win all the wars. I got hair, but I'm a ginger. I burn, so we can't win them all.
You can't.
Let me think. What else we got here?
Perfectly imperfect.
Prediction-wise, if you're gonna give a score and the Niners win, what would be your score?
I'm predicting the Niners will win. 27-24. I think I said 24-20 against the Cowboys. I think we'll need to score more against the Eagles. I think they will score more, obviously more than 12. I think they'll score more than 20 probably against us. So yeah, 27-24 roughly. I'm
going to go 31-28 Niners. We win with a late field goal.
Love it.
Larry Edwards has got 28-24. Yeah, we're going to do a little walk-off Robbie Gould. We're going to get really close. Kyle's going to sit on it a couple plays, and Robbie Gould is going to kick us into the Super Bowl, and we're going to face the Bengals and beat them.
There you go. Except for I want to beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
I know, but I don't. I don't want to risk it. No, I'm not saying the Bengals really.
And I feel bad for the Bengals. Then it would be 3-0.
Oh, look at Randy Daytona going freaking.
The Bengals would almost be like the new Bills. It wouldn't be 4 in a row.
Right. And I have a coworker. She's been a Bengals fan since before I was born, and I don't want the Bengals to lose again if they go. Because I personally have no issues against their quarterback.
You feel like we have a better chance against the Bengals?
I think we match up a little better than them with them because he's not as mobile.
Right.
But he can carve you to pieces. And if the Niners coverage and rush isn't working, then it's an
animal.
Jamar Chase is insane. They're both really good. Listen, every team that's in the Final Four, it's funny how the playoffs worked out this year, but it's usually the best teams in the end are always the ones that end up at the end. Unless it's some fluke, injury, turnover late. The Niners were one of the best teams in the NFL all year. At some points in the year, you could have said maybe they were the best team. The Eagles steadily were the best team in the NFL this year. And then Mahomes, he's a god of quarterbacks. And Joe Burrow, cocky as he is, you hate how cocky he is. Dude is good. My brother's a Dolphins fan. He's like, we had chances at all these guys. We didn't get any of them. He's like,
you were saying about how we don't hate Patrick Mahomes. It's just like I hate the people that say he's the best ever already and stuff like that. And the guys that are the most
loved. Super Bowl. So I mean, how can you say someone's the best ever that's already lost one? And he didn't play well against the Niners until the last 7 minutes.
And they lost to the Bengals last year.
Yeah,
and it's just like the most loved guys are the most hated, right? I mean, when Brady is super loved, there's a lot of hate for Brady, and now it's just like you said, it's sort of like the sign that you've arrived. When you have a lot of hate, it means you're probably loved a lot too, unless you're just like
That's why everybody, when I was growing up, I was a Bulls fan, right? Everybody hated the Bulls because they always won. Like you said, it's a sign of greatness. People hated the 49ers in the 80s and 90s, and when the Cowboys beat them, people were probably really happy. They were sick of seeing the 49ers win. The Niners have kind of gone through this period of like being good, bad, and now they're good again. That America kind of, and even the media, when they do good, they really take a liking to the 49ers. They talk a lot about their front office. They talk a lot about how they draft, their personnel. So, I mean, the Niners are in a good window right now. Like one of the guys in the chat said, maybe like a 5-year span here. My brother's cat literally just squeezed underneath the door.
I was saying, before the playoffs started, I was saying we were the 4th best playoff team over the last 3 seasons. And now I'm saying we're the 2nd best playoff team over the last 4 seasons. That, you could maybe, I guess, say we didn't win a Super Bowl, but to make 3 NFC Championship games and to make a Super Bowl, it's, I think, better than anybody besides the Chiefs, who have obviously been in every AFC Championship game for the last 5 years, and they won a Super Bowl. So we would have to win this one and win some more to catch them. But we'd have recency bias, at least on our side.
The thing with the Niners too is they're not controversial. They don't really have any on their roster that you hate. They don't have a Ndamukong Suh or a Bill Belichick as coach or whatever.
People hate Bosa because of his politics.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that might have issues or don't. It's more than just Bosa. Bosa just was stupid enough to kind of put his stuff out there. Believe me, there's people in the NFL that agree with him and agree on his views, but nobody knows because they don't make them public. Randy Daytona made a good point. He said, I hated the Bulls because he's a Pistons fan. Fair enough. And in the early 90s, Bulls fans hated the Pistons because the Pistons used to kick our ass. Kick their ass. I'm not really a basketball fan anymore. Kind of lost it when Jordan retired, but
Isaiah
Warren says I despise Boston. Oh yeah, Bill Laimbeer. Well, because they were so physical, you couldn't be like that now. It's just a different.
What was the big enforcer? The big forward or center, blanking on his name.
Bill Laimbeer was this. Bill Laimbeer was this. No, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of his name either.
It was Laimbeer, Isaiah, and anyway.
Yeah, they were. I know the guy you're talking about too. Yeah, it's let's see here we got here. Kenny, he's always in here, always talking about the Niners have the best defense and the best offense. Kenny stays true, man, all the time. He's always staying true to that, so I appreciate it. Any last thoughts before we get out of here? And what do you got going on TED Talks Ball after me and the rest of the week?
The rest of the week, still got a few. I got my buddy John Aguilar coming on tomorrow. He was a coach at Sarah High. He's been on once and having him back tomorrow at 3 Pacific and 7 Eastern or 6 Eastern. I got an Eagles fan, Lode Capo, and then another Eagles fan Friday morning at 8:30, and potentially another Eagles fan Friday at 12:30. I just have to move my 1 to 1:30. I think I can do it, but I haven't heard back from the guy today. So need Bob Rose. If you're watching, Bob, get back to me in my DMs. I need to bump you. He had said 1:30 would work. Yeah, he had said 1:30 would work, but you know how it is. You commit to something and other things fill in. And so I just want to make sure he can do it because I had to bump him last week. We ended up driving to Tahoe last Friday. And so I originally had him on for last Friday. So
Larry Edwards says, I'm a Knicks fan. Please don't make me relive the drama with the Bulls. Sorry.
They had some tough times.
Listen, I have to relive trauma every time I see the Giants of what they did to Montana twice in the playoffs. So I don't want to relive that either.
Broke his back.
Yeah, they broke him pretty much in half in the second time. So other than this stream, I'm streaming Friday with Beto from Niner Sickness Podcast, Wolf from Niner Gang Wolfcast. He'll be on the channel. And then, of course, Amin the Dream. I'm working on getting Raj on again. You guys know Raj from RSF Niners. He's my inside guy for all Niners news, even though he really doesn't spoil it because you can't really. But I try to get him to spill some stuff. So if it all works, he'll be on the stream. We had a great stream last week, guys. We had almost 80 people watching, which is the most my channel's ever gotten ever. Well, that's awesome. Other than when the Rams beat us last year, I was on, YouTube bitching and moaning. I had a lot of people watching me. A lot of people were commiserating with me. There was some
That's
Ram
an
fans.
all-star cast, though, with Beto, Wolf, and Raj. I mean,
Yeah, we're going to have some fun. So anybody who's in here, join me Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come join the stream. I appreciate everybody for coming through here tonight. Some of you are new that I've not seen before or have different names. So appreciate you coming and watching the stream. Me and Ted will be back next Wednesday regardless. We're going to either be talking, and on his channel, of course, Ted Talks Ball. So don't forget to go there, like, share, subscribe. Same with my channel, if you don't mind. But
Thank you.
Hopefully next week we'll be talking Niners going to the Super Bowl. If not, we'll be talking kind of like maybe a season wrap-up type show, off-season, look ahead, positions of need in the draft, things like that. So there's going to be that content either way. Hopefully we're talking the prior, not the latter. And who knows? Maybe there'll be a pop-up stream this week that I might do. Like I said, if the Niners win on Sunday, I might do a live stream after the game. I don't know how well it's going to work. Like I said, I'll probably get 2 people watching.
Well, hey, for anyone who's worried about us winning, I know a lot of people are really worried, and these people are saying they're going to blow us out. Keep in mind that the only playoff game that the Eagles have won in the last 4 years, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022 seasons, was this last one against the Giants. So they haven't been to 3 straight NFC Championship games. Their coach doesn't have a lot of experience with that. Neither QB does, ours nor theirs. But we have a lot of players on our team that have been battle-hardened through the playoffs. And I think that's more than their handful of guys that were there for that Super Bowl win in 2017. So just anyone who has doubts, I think we will be celebrating a win next Wednesday.
I'm not going to call it because I'm not really sure. And I know that makes me sound like a cop-out, but I like Kenny says, no team could beat this defense. He stands true to it. He says it regardless. Larry says I should do a call-in show. Here's the gist, Larry, why I don't do a call-in show. Because call-in shows have a good way of canceling channels. Either if people are on cam and they say something or do something where they flash the camera if you don't know them, or they say something that is, racist, anti-Semitic, whatever, in politics. And you can't control it. And because I can't control it, I don't want to take that risk. I want to do it, and I think it's a good way to fill time, and you don't always have to go in with a bunch of topics. You could just kind of lay, hey, what is your guys' thoughts? And then you get on the phone. One of these days I'll do it. But it'll have to be people that I've known in the chat for quite a while. You know what I mean? If I've never seen you before, I might not call on you. Kenny said like Bashar's last call-in show. Oh boy. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know, man. I'm like I said, things have happened. I've seen things happen. I know my buddy Jesse Naylor. Everybody knows who he is. He lost his channel because of it. So, and his channel is doing fantastic. He's one of the best to ever do it on YouTube. So that's another channel. Go check out Last Second Sports. But real quick, before we get out of here, I'm going to be doing a channel that somebody asked about in the chat earlier. It's going to be called Extra Large. It's going to be an off-season channel. It's going to be a pop culture channel. I don't know when exactly it's going to debut. We'll talk about things like Star Wars or Stranger Things, 80s music, things of that nature, video games I play. Maybe my co-host will make me play a game that I don't want to, and then I'll give my review on it or something. But it's in the works right now. I'm trying to get on people that I don't normally do stuff with because I feel like I stream with the same people all the time. And I think people will be like, oh, it's just those guys. So I'm trying to freshen it up. So everybody have a great night. Like I said, go follow Ted's channel, Ted Talks Ball. He streams a lot. So you won't have any lack of content on Ted's channel. And pay attention to his postings on social media, especially Twitter. And if all works out, I'll see you guys Friday with the crew. We got to get a name for that show. Hopefully we're talking next week when me and Ted talk, like I said, about a Super Bowl appearance. But everybody have a great night. Everybody take care, and we'll talk to you next week.
Peace out. Go Niners. Beat the Eagles.